Hi everyone, so we're back with the Brain Warriors Way. We've been talking about sustenance. We've already done mindset, we did assessment, and now we're working on sustenance. We're talking about food, how to eat to win. So as we dig into this, we're going to be here for a while, I've said that. Let's talk about calories. Are all calories the same? Do they matter? What difference does it make as long as you count your calories? Is that true? Well, it's true depending on what message you want to send to your body, to your brain, to your body, to your hormones. And why is that true? So just think with me for a minute. If you were to eat a 500 calorie cinnamon roll versus a big salad that had lots of greens and rainbow colored, fruit and maybe some berries and salmon and say red bell peppers and lots of things that were going to nourish you, so you've got some healthy fat in there and greens and plant-based, polyphenols. Which one do you think is going to send messages to your brain and body that are going to make you healthier, right? So it's not just all about calories in versus calories out. So yeah, you can count your calories, but that doesn't mean you're going to get the same message from those calories. So the old school thought of calories in equals calories out is not really true. And here's why. It depends on what you want to happen with those calories. So what are calories responsible for? Well, they're responsible for a lot of things. They actually affect the way your hormones work, for balancing blood sugar. Okay, and when you balance blood sugar, one of the big hormones that they affect is insulin, which affects then whether or not you keep fat on your body or not. So think of insulin like a hoarder, okay? So it's like it hoards fat and keeps it on your body. It also affects your focus, your energy. Sugar's been known to cause rapid brain cell firing, right? Trans fats, they're just terrible for you. So trans fats actually affect your focused energy a lot. And they cause inflammation. And anytime you cause inflammation, you're going to actually affect lots of things. It's actually a precursor for many diseases in your body. It also affects your metabolism. When you have inflammation, it's going to affect your metabolism, make it harder for you to lose weight. So sugar's also been known to trigger aggression, so rapid brain cell firing and aggression in kids. Decision making, it's going to affect your decision making. As you affect those hormones, you're also affecting neurotransmitters, and you're affecting your decision making on a day-to-day basis. If your blood sugar is going up and down, and your inflammation is high all the time, you're also affecting your neurotransmitters. Do you think you're going to make good decisions? Good decisions about food, good decisions about money, about relationships? No, you're going to feel awful. And as we think about those foods, so what are the worst culprits? Well, sugar, trans fats, processed foods, cheap oils that are high in omega-6 fatty acids, things like, sorry, I've got workers going through my house right now. So cheap oils like soybean oil, corn oil, safflower oil, those oils are going to increase inflammation in your body. So we want you to stay away from those as much as possible and at least balance it out with some of the healthier omega-3 fatty acids, decrease your sugar. I want to tell you a story about Beback and McCullough. Some of you may have heard me tell this story. So Beback and McCullough, I got to talk to the zoologist at the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo, and they have got these two gorillas there, and I became very interested when I heard their story. So I called and spoke to them because it turns out that the #1 cause of death in warehoused gorillas, warehoused means gorillas that are in zoos, kept in captivity, the #1 cause of death is heart disease, which is really interesting because that's never ever been seen in the wild. So gorillas in the wild don't die of chronic illnesses like heart disease or diabetes or anything like that. They die of acute illnesses, things like pneumonia, or they're actually poached, right, or infections. So why don't wild gorillas die of chronic illnesses? And that was the big question. So worldwide, #1 cause of disease in warehouse gorillas was heart disease. So the zoologists at the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo had 2 gorillas dying of heart disease, and they were barely middle-aged, Beback and McCullough. They decided they had to do something about this. So they decided that they were going to take a look at all aspects of the gorillas' lives, their living conditions, their food, everything. Well, they started with food, and they decided to see if they could change the gorillas' diets and if it would make a difference. Well, why did they have to change it? Well, because warehoused gorillas are commonly fed nutritional cookies. Sounds kind of weird, right? I mean, not like gorillas go out in the wild and go hunt down cookies. But if you think about why that was started, it was started with good intention. It was started to actually be able to give the gorillas all of their nutrition in one, sort of like children's vitamins, okay? We put all of the nutrition into that one cookie with children's vitamins, right? Why do we load them up with red dye and sugar? I have no idea. It seems counterintuitive, but they were doing the same thing with the cookies. So even though gorillas don't normally eat grains or starch like that, they were putting all of their amino acids and vitamins into these cookies. But the gorillas were getting sick. So they decided that with these gorillas, they were going to bring in 11 pounds each of their natural food, which was wild greens, nuts, seeds, bamboo, flax. They were going to scatter it all over their habitat. So now rather than gobbling up these cookies really quickly, they were going to eat their natural diet slowly. And they were going to have to forage for it. They were going to have to move around and pick it up and eat it. So a couple things started happening. The gorillas were moving more, they were eating slower, and they were eating their natural food. And an amazing thing happened. So B-back actually reversed his heart disease, and Makolo radically slowed the progression of his heart disease. And within 1 year, both gorillas lost 65 pounds each. But here's the big aha. They were eating double the calories. It was amazing. Now, another really interesting thing, warehoused gorillas commonly suffer from these neurotic behaviors of pulling out their hair, and they eat it and they regurgitate it back up. And then they also eat their food and they regurgitate it back up and keep eating it over and over throughout the day. So when I heard this, I'm like, whoa, that kind of sounds like some of the patients we see, right? With some of the behaviors that we see with people coming in to visit us. Trichotillomania is when you pull your hair out, regurgitating your food. We all know that that's an eating disorder. And I started wondering, I'm like, wow, this sounds kind of like some of the people that we deal with. And what's interesting though, is that that's also never been seen in wild gorillas. They've never witnessed those behaviors in wild gorillas. Well, how come warehouse gorillas exhibit these behaviors and wild gorillas don't? When they changed B-back and Makolo's diet, all of the neurotic behaviors stopped. They stopped pulling out their hair, regurgitating their food. They lost 65 pounds, improved their heart function, eating double the calories. So now you tell me, do your calories matter? Right? Yes, your calories matter. It's the quality of your calories. It's the messages that they send to your body, that inflammation, the hormones. So what is it? What foods send what messages? Well, we just talked about sugar. Sugar, when it's increasing your blood sugar, is a disaster for your hormones, for your metabolism. It's a disaster for brain function. It's a disaster for inflammation and diseases and heart disease and diabetes and obesity and all of those things. Some of those really cheap fats and unhealthy fats, really bad for you. So what are some of the good things? When you eat small amounts of protein and fat throughout the day, really high quality protein, high quality fat. Now we talked about trans fat, but what about the fat from nuts and seeds and avocados and like B-back and Makolo, we're eating flax and all those types of things. What happens is those send the signal to your brain. They release different hormones that send the signal to your brain that you are satisfied, that you're full. When you eat sugar and you're releasing insulin, and also it messes up your leptin, what happens is that message doesn't get to your brain correctly. So you might feel full and tight around the waist, like your belt might be tight, but the message isn't getting to your brain that you're full. Haven't you ever eaten a bowl of pasta or a bowl of ice cream and you're already thinking about the next bowl? That's because that message isn't getting sent correctly. And that blood sugar is messing up your satiety. So that's why what you eat matters. 500 calories of that big salad with salmon, nuts, seeds, blueberries, that's going to be a big difference in how you feel and how your brain functions in the decisions you make compared to that cinnamon roll, which I guarantee you will make you hungrier, right? It's going to make you tired, unfocused, and hungrier, and you're not going to make good decisions when you eat something like that. So that's a few things that your calories are going to tell your body, the messages that are going to be sent to your body, and why it's so important. So one more thing about B-back and Makolo. So when they changed their diet, they noticed that the gorillas were grumpy for about a week, right? They missed the sugar. They missed that, those starchy carbs in their cookies. It's a little like the Cookie Monster, right? They missed them for about a week. And then they got over it and they got healthy. And that's what we're going to tell you to do, right? You might be jonesing for them for about a week, But if you use the formula we're going to give you with eating those small amounts of food throughout the day, small amounts, think of it like medicine in small doses throughout the day, of that high quality protein and small amounts of fat throughout the day, cut back on that sugar as completely as possible, especially in the beginning, you're going to feel more satisfied. In about a week, you will lose those cravings. Some people who are diehard, it might take a little bit longer, but eventually that will begin to subside. And we're going to give you other tools that will help you to decrease those cravings. There are also some supplements that can really help a lot, but we're going to talk more about that as we go. Just want to talk about, do your calories matter? Is it as simple as calories in versus calories out? Well, if you want to completely sabotage your health, yes, calories in, calories out, but what you get out, what you put out isn't going to be as healthy as if you were to eat something really healthy. So when I heard about the 800 calorie Twinkie diet, and what they showed was that over a certain period of time, that person still lost the same amount of weight as somebody who ate healthy food. See, here's the problem with that. That will work short term. Anytime you cut calories short term, and you eat whatever you eat, if you're cutting calories short term, that will work short term. The problem is those 800 calories over time, if you're eating foods like Twinkies, what will end up happening is that over time, that inflammation is going to keep going up. Pretty soon, like Be Back in Makolo, you're eating half the calories and you're going to start gaining weight because your heart function isn't as good, because your blood sugar isn't as good, because insulin is going up, and insulin's job is to hoard calories, to hoard fat, right? So over time, you'll lose it initially and then it's going to start creeping up. And that 800 calories, which is actually, we want you eating a lot more than 800 calories. We don't want you to feel deprived or hungry. That feeling of hunger is the kiss of death, but we want you eating foods that are going to make you feel full. So stick with us. We're going to go over more and more about what those foods are and how to consume them, the right foods at the right times. So stay with us, but that's why your calories matter. Take care and have a great day.